A natural part of life is death. Well, throughout history, there have been a number of bizarre and unbelievable deaths that are far from natural. In fact, sometimes they're so unlikely that if there weren't evidence and witnesses, you could swear that they were made up. From being wrapped up in wool to having your head smashed in by a toy. In today's video, we'll bring you 13 of the dumbest ways people have died. Welcome to Daily Joy Time, the wrong turn on YouTube you're happy to take. Number 13. Man dies after cow falls on him. You may expect a bird to land on your roof or maybe even a frisbee. But what about a fully grown cow? Well, for João Maria de Souza, a man from Brazil, this is precisely what killed him. De Souza was lying in bed, minding his own business, when the one-ton cow crashed through his ceiling and crushed him to death. What makes this story even more remarkable is that this was the third incident of its kind to happen in the region. Now, before you get worried about the threat of flying cows, the reason the cow ended up on the roof is because of the way the houses are built into the hilly area. By the way, we have a little surprise for you at the end of the video. Number 12. Chemist dies tasting chemicals. No matter how delicious something might smell or look, if it's not food, you don't eat it. Well, one Swedish chemist called Carl Wilhelm Scheele had the unusual habit of tasting all the chemicals he discovered. In 1978, the esteemed scientist died as a result of eating lead, hydrofluoric acid, arsenic, and other various poisons. Number 11. A different kind of plane crash. Being killed as the result of a plane crash isn't something that would be considered strange. But how about if that plane was a small radio-controlled version? In 2001, Roger Wallace was flying his model plane around the Arizona sky when the blazing sun caused him to lose sight of it. Suddenly, the plane crashed into his head at 40 miles per hour, killing him instantly. Number 10. Man gets head stuck down drain and drowns. 56-year-old Patrick Lee Nielsen was taking some trash out when he accidentally dropped his keys into a storm drain. Not wanting to wait or pay for a locksmith to replace them, Patrick took things into his own hands by getting down onto his knees to retrieve the keys. Unfortunately, he lost his balance and got his head stuck inside the drain. The 2 feet of water was enough to drown the man, who was found a little while later. Number 9. Segway company owner falls off cliff on Segway. Jimmy Hesselden, the former owner of the Segway company, didn't calm safety concerns for his two-wheeled scooting product when he drove straight off an 80-foot cliff to his death. It's believed that he had moved out of the way to avoid a dog walker when he was launched off the edge. Number 8. A warrior from the past gets killed by his dead enemy. Sigurd the Mighty, a 9th century Norse Earl of Orkney, Scotland, was killed by an enemy that he'd beheaded many hours previously. He had tied the man's severed head to his horse's saddle and was riding home when one of the man's protruding teeth grazed Sigurd's leg, causing a nasty infection that later killed him. They do say that doing bad things can come back to bite you. In this case, it really did. Number 7. Lawyer proves a suicide by accidentally replicating it. In 1871, a lawyer named Clement Vallandigham was trying to defend a murder suspect by explaining how the victim could have accidentally shot himself. During the demonstration, Vallandigham picked up the gun that he believed was unloaded and pulled the trigger. Sadly, a bullet was already in the chamber, giving the whole courtroom the ultimate evidence about his claims. Although the lawyer died 12 hours later from his injuries, he did manage to get his client acquitted of the crime. Talk about going above and beyond in your work. Number 6. Bee removal. When a Brazilian farmer discovered a beehive on his property back in 2002, he knew precisely 2 things. Bees could sting, and that they needed to be removed with fire. To protect his face from bee stings and the smoke, he placed a plastic bag over his head. Unfortunately, he forgot that he also needed to breathe. His body was later found by his wife after she went looking for it. Number 5. Lawyer falls through window demonstrating their safety. A Canadian lawyer, Gary Hoy, was so confident that the safety glass installed in a skyscraper was so unbreakable that he threw himself at the pane of glass. Although he managed to prove that this glass wouldn't shatter, what he didn't consider was that the glass could pop straight out from its frame. This is precisely what happened to Hoy, which caused him to fall from the 24th floor. His body landed in the Holden Day Wilson firm courtyard, in front of many horrified onlookers. When Hoy's manager was interviewed by the local paper, he said that his employer was one of the best and brightest, although many can agree that on that day, he didn't make the brightest of decisions. Number 4. Death by being wrapped in wool. If you're prone to accidents, people may say that they're going to wrap you up in cotton wool to prevent any further injuries. Well, in the case of Paul G. Thomas, it had the opposite effect. Thomas had been working on his wool mill when he accidentally fell on the spooling machine, which quickly wrapped him up in 800 yards of yarn. Number 3. Grand Canyon death prank fail. In 1992, Greg Austin Gingrich jokingly pretended that he'd fallen to his death in the Grand Canyon. The reason why the prank was so realistic is that as he was hiding, he lost his footing and actually fell to his death. Don't worry guys, it's just a prank. Number 2. Dying for a Wii. A California woman called Jennifer Strange entered into a radio competition in 2007 to win a Nintendo Wii console for her sons. To win the competition, Jennifer had to drink as much as she could without going to the toilet. Sadly, a few hours after going home, she died of water intoxication that swelled her brain and caused organs to stop working correctly. Jennifer's family later sued the radio show for $16.5 million, claiming that they were responsible for her wrongful death. Number 1. Man avoids electric chair, gets electrocuted anyway. A convicted murderer, Michael Anderson Sloan, managed to have his electric chair death sentence commuted after a retrial. Now, those of you who believe in karma may have your faith affirmed when you come to learn that Sloan later electrocuted himself to death inside his prison cell. He'd been trying to fix the headphones connected to his TV set while sitting on the metal toilet. For some reason, he bit into a live wire. And because we appreciate you watching the video to this point, we have 2 bonus accidents for you. Mere drowns in human waste. What could possibly be one of the worst deaths imaginable? Mayor Monica Myers of Betterton, Maryland, would often clean and take test samples of the town's wastewater tank to test for chlorine and sediment buildup. The 70-year-old woman would often perform this task from the catwalk of the waste facility, using long tools that would reach down into the huge tanks. Well, on one occasion, Myers lost her footing and fell into the human waste and drowned. The town's engineer later commented that it would have been like putty down there, which would have acted like quicksand. Gross. Man accidentally makes a mallet out of a bomb. In 1981, Paul Gauci from Malta made himself a mallet by welding an old tin can to a metal pipe. The MacGyver-style tool seemed like a good idea, until Gauci took a swing and discovered it was in fact a wartime butterfly bomb that was still active. As you can probably guess, the explosion instantly killed Paul.
You shall not pass, unless you click on one of these videos, of course.
Also, don't forget to hit subscribe, ring the bell, give us a like, and share to your friends.